next on NBC.
Wow, Sparky. Look at that. Baseball.
The tradition is here. The memories are waiting. Next.
$50,000 have turned out here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis on a cool night in the Midwest. Good evening, everyone. I'm Marv Albert, and welcome to the start of NBC's coverage of the 1987 League Championship playoffs. Tonight, Game 1 between the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Francisco Giants. The big news here, Danny Cox, the scheduled Cardinals starter, a scratch because of a stiff neck. Greg Matthews will get the nod, 11-11 during the season. However, he was hit pretty good in 3 appearances this year against the Giants. The Giants go with Rick Russell, 13-9 during the season. Now, we had hoped at this time to talk with both managers. Roger Craig of the Giants will be joining us in just a moment. However, Whitey Herzog would not come on the show. Whitey is still upset about the pregame interview I did with him last season. At the time, Whitey and A. Bartlett Giamatti were among the candidates for the National League presidency, and I kiddingly posed this question to Whitey.
Whitey, look at it this way. Although you may not be looking for a career change, if A. Bartlett Giamatti takes the job to head up the National League, there would be an opening for you at Yale University.
Well, you're trying to be funny now, Marv. I don't think that's funny at all.
No, apparently Whitey was not amused, so he will not be with us here tonight. But Giant manager Roger Craig is a man who's had some differences in the past with Whitey Herzog. I take it there's no love lost between the Giants and the Cardinals.
Not really. I respect Whitey very much. He's one of the best managers in baseball, and the incident we had last year is over. We just want to win, just like we did that day, and I'm sure nothing's going to happen except 2 good ball clubs trying to win.
What does the change to Greg Matthews mean to you?
Well, I'm going to switch my starting lineup now. I have 5 outfielders that played extremely well. Today, Jeffrey Leonard and Chili Davis will be in the outfield, replacing Eddie Miller and Mike Aldrete, so they can't. I got to have all 5 guys in the lineup in the playoffs.
So they're all happy is what you're saying. What about Russell? Last 2 starts against the Cardinals, he was smacked around pretty good. Does that concern you?
That's over. You know, this is a whole new season. The playoff starts today. He's up for this game. He's the kind of a guy that I think any manager would like to give the ball to. He's got a heart big as he is. He's a complete pitcher. He can do it all, and I think he'll do a good job.
Would you explain to me the philosophy of hum, baby, hum, a phrase that you coined?
Well, actually, hum baby means when I was a kid playing, we used to say, come on, baby, and you say it fast, it says hum baby. But to me, hum baby can mean a great play, a great pitching performance, a beautiful girl. Somebody does their job, but it's just something we use all year, and it's been helpful.
I understand your wife, Carolyn, is Mrs. Hum Baby?
That's what the players call her, and she is a hum baby.
Scary thing is I'm beginning to understand all this. Roger, good luck tonight in game number 1.
Thank you very much.
All right, National League Manager of the Year candidate Roger Craig back with Joe Morgan to analyze the series in just a moment. The National League Championship Series pregame show is brought to you by Taco Bell. Say hello to fresh, exciting taste. Just say hello, Taco Bell. And by Bic Shavers. Feel the Bic difference. Bic Shaver for regular or sensitive skin. We welcome you back to Busch Stadium in St. Louis, and throughout our coverage of the National League Championship Series, I'll be joined by Joe Morgan, a man who over a 22-year Major League career did it with a combination of power and speed. He won the Most Valuable Player award twice. He played in 4 World Series, 7 National League Championship Series. Joe, what's the key to this series?
Well, Marv, it'll be who scores first. The Giants can come from behind with their power. The Cardinals will not be able to come from behind, so I think that will be the key to the series.
In effect, it's a classic matchup of the boxer and the slugger. Cardinals scrap for their runs. Giants need the knockout weapon.
Well, on the surface, it seems like it'll be a matchup of power of the Giants against the speed of the Cardinals. Will Clark had 35 home runs for the Giants to lead. Stolen bases was led by Vince Coleman, 109. And as you see here, the Giants were second in the National League in home runs. The Cardinals led the league in stolen bases. So they will have to do those things in order to win this series.
Now, Vince Coleman is the man who sets the Cardinal offense in motion. He does it on the bases. Very successful, obviously, against the rest of the league. Against the Giants, only 3 for 8 against the combination of Bob Brenly and Bob Melvin. Why the problems against the Giants?
Well, Bob Brenly has a very quick release. And if you get rid of the ball very quickly and you're accurate, you're going to get the guy out. And against the Cardinals this year, he made a lot of great throws.
How about the Giant pitchers? How do they contribute to holding Coleman? For example, Rick Russell going tonight is said to have a good pickoff move. Do you buy that?
Well, what Rick Russell does have is a lot of quickness in the lower part of his body. But he turns with the upper part, which will give the Cardinals a chance to steal bases. I believe they will be able to steal bases in this series.
So you think Russell is not that effective?
I think he's not that effective as holding guys on like Vince Coleman.
Who was the toughest guy for you to steal against?
Tony Pena, when he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Was that before or after he wore the glasses?
Afterwards.
I'm sure he'll be delighted to hear that. We'll be back with the wild and the wacky involving the Giants and the Cardinals in just a moment. Back in St. Louis, and we're only moments away from the introduction of both ball clubs. Although both the Giants and the Cardinals had much success in making it to this plateau, both were involved in their share of the wild and the wacky this 1987 season. So our staff has compiled what we call the Albert Achievement Awards, spotlighting on the Giants and the Cardinals. For example, Willie McGee had this forgettable moment. Willie stealing second, but thinking he was out, stepped off the bag, and now he is tagged out. Then there was the hot shot to third baseman Terry Pendleton, who had some difficulty locating the baseball. Pitcher Joe McGrain with a delivery that he did not have in mind. One of the bizarre plays of the year. Tony Pena with the bouncer to the Phillies' Shane Rawley, and he flips over to Mike Schmidt, who throws to first to get Pena. And how about John Marsh showing us his breaststroke technique on the wet grass at Shea Stadium? The Giants also had their moments. Here is San Francisco pitcher Roger Mason with the apparent base hit to right field. But no Andre Dawson able to throw him out. So much for the base hit. And so much for this elusive baseball cap. This the result of another wild, windy day out at Candlestick. Now check this out off the pop-up. Here comes outfielder Mike Aldretti tripping over the foul line. Then there was Robbie Thompson with the steal of second, but hold it, Thompson, given the impression that the throw went into center field. Wrong, he was faked out. A play that seemed to amuse the Giant bullpen corps. And last week, just your ordinary low-key clubhouse pennant celebration.
Here's Will Clark. Come here, Will.
Hey, what's happening? We did it! That's right! Yes!
You're overmodulating.
Huh?
Yes, Will has always been very shy. A look at the wild and the wacky involving the Giants and the Cardinals. That's the flip side. But in fact, 1987 was a glorious season for both ball clubs, capped off by these moments that won't be forgotten.
1 ball, 1 strike, 2 outs. A little looper to left field. Back to the wall is Jeffrey Leonard, and let the celebration begin.
Cox, born across the water in Northampton, England. Little check to Cox. Throws on. They win it! They'll meet the Giants in the league championship series.
And now it has come down to this. The Cardinals and the Giants in Game 1 of the National League Championship Series. It'll be Rick Russell for the Giants. For the Cardinals, Greg Matthews replacing the injured Danny Cox. The ailing Jack Clark will not be in the lineup. And the St. Louis tradition is here in Busch Stadium with Cardinal owner August Busch Jr. and his world-famous Clydesdales. Right now we're set for the introductions, and here is Cardinal public address announcer John Hewlett.
He's led the Giants to the division title in his second full year as manager. Roger Craig. All Giants against the Cardinals this season. Batting first, the second baseman, Robbie Thompson. 22 homers, batted 306 after the trade to the Giants. Batting second, third baseman, Beth Mitchell. He set a career high in Denver. Second fielder at the two bases. Third fielder, left fielder, Jeffrey Leonard.
Apparently we are having some difficulty picking up the public address, so here are the Giants as they make their way for the introduction. Andy Maldonado, man who missed 6 weeks with an injury, but still ranks second on the club with 85 RBIs. He set a personal high with 24 home runs, including 4 against the Cards. He's batting fifth in center field, Chili Davis. A former U.S. Olympian who led the club with 35 homers, 91 RBIs, and batting sixth, first baseman Will Clark. Over the last 4 years, he's averaged 18 home runs. His total for the season, he's catching and batting seventh. That is Bob Bradley. And this man enjoyed his best offensive season of his career, hitting .291, hitting eighth. Shortstop Jose Uribe, and there is the starter warming up in the left field bullpen, starting pitcher and batting ninth, Rick Russell. So Rick Russell, 38-year-old, who pitched 3 2-hitters this season. He ranked number 4 in the National League in earned run average. And now the National League East Division champion St. Louis Cardinals. First the coaching staff and the non-starters. So the Cardinals, hearing it from the crowd. In his 8th year as manager of the Cardinals, Whitey Herzog. Man who ran away with this year's Major League stolen base title, had 109. He is batting first, left fielder Vince Coleman. In the number 2 position, 8-time Gold Glove winner, who had a big season, an average, and in the RBI department, the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Smith. Playing second base and batting third, 83 RBIs. Second on the club in game-winning RBIs, Tommy Herr. And here's the man replacing the injured Jack Clark, making his 4th appearance in league championship play. He's hitting for first baseman Dan Dreesen. In the number 5 spot, with 105 RBIs to set a new Cardinal record for center fielders, Willie McGee. In the number 6 slot, playing third base, he had that key home run against the Mets. 96 RBIs in all, Terry Pendleton. In right field, as a pinch hitter, came up with a batting average of .389 this season. He's hitting 7th, Kurt Ford. And batting 8th and catching. Playing in his first LCS, here's Tony Pena. And And the right field bullpen, one of 3 11-game winners on the Cardinals staff. Apparently he has made it to the dugout. And he is replacing the injured Danny Cox. As we mentioned earlier, Cox out with that stiff neck. So Greg Matthews draws the nod. Record of 11-11 this season. So there are the starting lineups. And right now, the Cardinals and Giants awaiting the singing of our national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, the St. Louis Cardinals are proud to welcome one of our country's most popular Hispanic entertainers to perform the national anthem at tonight's National League Championship game. Please give a St. Louis welcome to Anna Connie.
And this is Anna Connie to sing our national anthem.
What so proudly we hail, and the twilight glancing, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the rampart we watch, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket
Connie singing our national anthem. In a moment, Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola with the play-by-play. I'm Marv Albert. We'll be back in St. Louis after this NBC News Digest.
NBC Sports presents the 1987 National League Championship Series. Tonight from Busch Memorial Stadium, the San Francisco Giants versus the St. Louis Cardinals. Brought to you by Miller Brewing Company, sole sponsor of the U.S. Olympic Training Center. By Buick, and again this year, as it has for 85 years, the great American road belongs to Buick. By Allstate, for home, auto, and life insurance, you're in good hands with Allstate. And by the people of Holiday Inn Hotels who salute you. Here's to the winners. We're on your way. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola. Welcome to Game 1 of the National League Championship Series, and already a headline before Game 1 even starts.
Whitey's had injuries all year long, and we thought Danny Cox was going to pitch tonight. He's out, and Matthews will be the pitcher, but that's been the story of the Cardinals all year.
Indeed, so a left-hander on the mound, meaning the Giants will change their lineup. But when you look at the two teams, no matter who's pitching, there's a totally different sense of attack.
Definitely. The Cardinals have to manufacture runs. Clark is out of the lineup. They have no legitimate home run hitter. That means they'll be running.
And the Giants, of course, relying on pitching, bullpen, plus a ball club that generates a lot of runs. They are second in the National League in home runs. They hit 16 home runs against the Cardinals, 9 here in St. Louis.
The pitching tonight, though, with the Giants, Russell looks like he might be able to stop some of that Cardinal attack because he does have a good move. He does pitch low, meaning ground balls, but I guess the big battle will come when Coleman gets on base.
And the defense, of course, on both sides will be very much up in the air. The Giants #1 in the major leagues in turning to double plays, but the Cardinals are no slouch, especially on AstroTurf.
Well, you know, when they talk about building a ball club for a ballpark, the Cardinals are built here, but you have to think defense. They can cut the gap. They can they can stop that ball from going there, and they get to it quickly. So that's why they're built for this ballpark.
And if it means anything, in 6 games played during the regular year, they split the 6. But it should be noted that in 4 of those 6, Vince Coleman was not playing for St. Louis. We'll check the starting lineups. We'll have all the pregame stats and stories all coming up right after this. A beautiful fall evening here in St. Louis, and just moments ago, the chairman of the board, the president and chief executive officer of the St. Louis National Baseball Club, August A. Busch Jr., and the ceremonial first ball toss. Arriving in the stadium on his wagon drawn by the Clydesdales, Mr. Busch reaching Tony Pena on the fly. It should be noted, and here we go. Robbie Thompson, then Kevin Mitchell and Jeff Leonard against left-handed Greg Matthews, an 11-game winner who didn't figure to pitch this game, but then Danny Cox came up with a bad neck. 1 ball and no strike to Rob Thompson. As a leadoff man, Thompson strikes out a lot, over 90 times. He's a very good bunter. And later on in the series, if he comes up in a situation where there might be a squeeze, he'd be just the man to look for. 1-1. Greg Matthews with a record of 11-11. He was 0-2 against the Giants this year, 1-2 lifetime, replacing Danny Cox, who won 11. The Cardinals, the first division winner ever without a 14-game winner. 1 ball and 1 strike to Rob Thompson. Cued off the end of the bat, a one-hopper that gets away from Dreesen, and there was a lot of English on that ball because it was cued. So Rob Thompson squirts one off the end of the bat. Dreesen unable to come up with it and will draw an error. And that will bring up Kevin Mitchell.
Dreesen looked like he was going to make an easy play out of it. He just botched it. You can see why Thompson would be out in front of Greg Matthews. Matthews changes speeds a lot. His fastball really sets up the other pitch. He doesn't have the kind of a fastball that'll blow you away. He'll spot the fastball and then he'll change speeds. His biggest strength is that ability. He controls that strike zone pretty good when he's on, and it's pitch selection that'll make the difference.
Well, here's Kevin Mitchell. A lot of sock in the number 2 slot with 22 home runs. Rob Thompson taking his lead at first, stole 16 bases during the regular year. And Matthews takes a look and then comes for a strike. On deck, Jeffrey Leonard. Going head-to-head, not that it really means anything, but during the regular year, the Giants beat the Cardinals 7 out of 12, splitting 6 games here. But they hit more home runs at Busch Stadium than they did at Candlestick. Ground ball to the hole, base hit into left field. So an error followed by a single, and the Cardinals are in trouble. I think it should be mentioned, we all learned something from history. But the team that has opened the National League Championship Series at home has lost the League Championship Series the last 4 years. In fact, the team opening at home has won only 5 of the 18 series. They usually hear about the home field advantage, but it hasn't quite worked out that way. And now Jeff Leonard with first and second and nobody out. Leonard had a bad wrist. There were those who felt it's just as well he wasn't going to play tonight. With Danny Cox, he was not in the original lineup.
That's how Matthews has to pitch. He has to change speeds, get it out of that zone, and hope that they chase the bad ball.
And if there is an escape hatch in the Giant lineup, it might be Leonard, who has grounded into 17 double plays this year.
The bunt is not even a rumor as far as the Cardinals are concerned, and you can understand why. First inning, Leonard, a guy who can hop it into the seats.
0-1 to count at Jeff Leonard. We're just starting. High fly ball to straightaway center. It's playable. However, the runners go to tag. McGee for the catch, and moving over is Rob Thompson, and the throw offline, and both runners advance.
Vin, that's one of the things that Zimmer talked about, how different it is to coach on artificial surface than it is in natural grass. He wants his guys to tag up because there is no mediocre arm as far as he's concerned on artificial surface. Picking up that base on the fly ball means that they can score easily on the base hit. You could see Zimmer was really screaming to Thompson to tag up and come on over.
You can also make a little scouting report. The Giants sacrificed the fewest number of times of any team in the National League, so you don't really look for them to lay one down. Maldonado is a Jekyll and Hyde. He didn't do much hitting at Candlestick, but he was hitting close to 350 on the road. Strike, off speed. Matthews, with a lot of off-speed stuff, leads the Cardinal staff in strikeouts. In fact, Whitey Herzog said he always gets in trouble when he tries to rely on an 83-mile-an-hour Hummer. 0-1 the count. 0-2 as Maldonado chasing that.
One of the problems they had was that Matthews started to worry about how hard he was throwing, and it took a while for Mike Rourke to work with him, the coach. And what he has to do is change speeds, get that ball outside the zone like he did there, and make him chase it.
The infield back with only one out in the first inning. Ground ball to third. A full 360 by Pendleton, but he goes to first. Terry might very well have had a play at the plate, but he elected to go for the out, and the run scores.
That was a contact play as far as the Giants are concerned. The runner breaks as soon as the ball is hit. Now Pendleton turns around. He's got an idea to go to the plate, and I think he had a play there, but he wanted to make sure of the out, because if he doesn't get him at the plate, then it's a big inning. But you see him take a look, and he wants to go to the plate, and then he says, "No, I better make sure of the one out."
So the Giants get the jump on the Cardinals. Terry Pendleton opting for the out as the run brought in by Thompson, who tagged and moved over on the fly ball. And here now is Chili Davis. Chili Davis, a switch hitter. He has a little better numbers as a right-handed batter and more power from this side of the plate. Chili commanded a lot of respect this year. You might not realize it, but he led the Giants in getting intentional walks. He also strikes out a lot. He has struck out over 100 times. So 2 down in the first inning, and the Giants have a run. Fouled away, or first, out of play, and the count 0-2. It's 330 down the lines here at Busch. 383 up the alleys. 414 to center. That's the deepest center in the National League, and that wall is 10 feet high. Oh, 0-2 the count. Giants with a run on an error, and it's been cashed in. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You might take a note from our center field camera, like on that last pitch. Pena behind the plate will move to help his pitcher Matthews, but he'll move at the last second, last possible moment. He's been inside, he's been outside on Chili Davis.
I've always marveled about Tony Pena and his glove or mitt. On the corner, strike 3 call. We'll look at it later, but that's probably the smallest catcher's mitt, certainly in the major league. 1 run, 1 hit, an error, a man left at the end of a half an inning. Giants won. Here come the Cardinals.
The 3 major reasons we've been successful throwing out the Cardinals have been Roger Craig calling pitch outs and throws to first from the bench. Our pitchers doing a good job of keeping the runner close and giving Bob Melvin and myself a chance to throw him out, and that's the third part. We both feel we can throw the ball pretty well.
Bob Brenly, along with Bob Melvin, have helped the Giants with the best success ratio against opposing base stealers. They've thrown out almost 40%, 4 out of every 10.
Vin Russell does get rid of that ball in a hurry. They got him clocked at 1.25. Catcher, talking to Melvin, if they get it at 1.9 in a 4-second tag, you're talking about 3.5. And if you can get that ball down there in that kind of time, you're going to get most everybody, including a Vince Coleman.
Rick Russell, 13-9. He was 1-1 against St. Louis, 16-13 lifetime, and has turned in so many quality starts, 21 of 33. One thing about Coleman, as a leadoff man, he will have some difficulty getting aboard on walks because Russell averages about 1 walk a game. A drive to center, and Chili Davis right there. So that removes Coleman for a while. 1 down.
And not only that, Russell did what he does almost to every hitter, start out ahead of him. He's going to throw strikes. He works fast. He doesn't waste any time. He will throw strikes. And Brenly says every once in a while he'll throw what he calls that BP fastball. Just turns it over a little bit, not a hard one, but for a good strike.
Ozzie Smith, a much better hitter, left-handed, and has had a big year. 75 runs batted in, and if you add that to 104 runs that he scored this year, you realize what kind of a season he has had. Plus, he's just about a cinch to win his 8th consecutive Gold Glove. He has 7 straight. Fouled away.
The strategy on Russell, as far as Coleman concerned, Smith, probably her, and I'd say McGee, Pendleton, is to hit that ball from the middle over.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Time called. Interesting a baseball story. Rick Russell made his debut for the Cubs against the Giants, won his first major league victory against the Giants. His first major league shortout was against the Cardinals. In the dirt, dug out by Clark. So Ozzie is out. Uribe to Clark, 2 down.
Uribe, an outstanding year. In fact, Bob Kennedy used to be general manager of the Cubs, former major leaguer, now with the Giants, says Uribe is the most valuable player of these Giants. Said he may not be as acrobatic as Ozzie Smith, but he does it all, and he showed you right there.
He was involved, was Uribe, in the Jack Clark deal for Gary Racich, Dave LaPointe, David Green, and Uribe was in a trade under the assumed name. He was Jose Gonzalez when the trade was made, and of course he was indeed, to quote Rocky Bridges, the player to be named later. Switch hitting Tommy Herr, hitting almost 300 as a right-handed batter, and about 60 points less than that from this side of the plate. If you need a man to be picked up from third base with less than 2 outs, Herr is your man with scoring fly balls.
That he is, but if he'd have had a man on third and Russell throw him the pitch he just threw him in, that was a great shot from center field. It's that sinker ball, the outside part of the plate. That's where Russell pitches it. You'll see ground balls, and you have to hit him in the middle to the opposite field.
1-1. Just missed, ball 2. If indeed Russell is sound tonight, it will disprove a theory that was going around the National League, because in his last 3 starts, he gave up 16 runs, and a lot of people said, oops, he's got a tender elbow. But Rick's just rolling along in high gear. Fouled away.
Roger Craig said it was location, that he was just missing, and balls were getting through there, but his stuff was fine. That was the explanation they gave.
He's put in some remarkable work as he concentrates on Tommy Herr. 2 down, first inning. Cardinals leading the Giants leading the Cardinals 1-0. They cashed in a Cardinal error. High fly ball into left field. Jeff Leonard is calling, and that'll be that. So the Cardinals tiptoe through the first inning, and at the end of 1. Giants 1, Cardinals nothing.
Jose Morales, one of the coaches, talking to Uribe. Morales has a pad. He charts every pitch, and then he talks to him. And what he's doing between innings is kind of interesting. He believes, you watch the opposing pitcher warm up between innings, that pitcher usually throws the pitch that he has the most confidence in the most often. So he watches that, and then will set up what he thinks that the pitcher will use against his players. And with his chart, he was talking to Uribe and has him all set up. Clark, I don't think he worries too much about it.
Look out for the first pitch with Will Clark, but that one was out of the strike zone. Will has 35 home runs. 10 of them is when he swings at the first pitch. So if you're keeping a little scouting report on him, be careful with the first one especially. On the corner, 1-1. Will tuned up for the league championship series, hitting a pair of home runs Sunday to get him to 35. Only the 7th player in San Francisco history to reach the 30 home run plateau. 7 of them against left-handers. Greg Matthews, who pitched 2 innings on Sunday, rushed into the breach because Danny Cox unable to pitch. Ground ball to the hole. Tommy Herr plugs it up. A 360 to Drayson. Fine play. Tommy Herr making a good play to take a hit away.
He simply outruns his ball, doesn't give up on it. Looks like it's going to get by because of the artificial surface. He has to make the complete turn to get some kind of a brace to get something on the throw, and he made a fine play.
Watching him make the 360 reminds us so far of the biggest decision of the night in the first inning when Pendleton did the 360 on the ground ball and opted to go to first, where it appeared from up here as if he had a play at the plate. And that's right now the difference in the game. 1-0 Giants. Two balls and no strikes to Bob Brenly.
Brenly gets ahead of you, Van. He can give you some pop. I mean, he gives you a pretty good home run cut, 2-0 and 3-1.
And he has the count his way now. 3 balls and no strikes. We have 1 out in the second inning. Giants 1, Cardinals 0. The Giants, #2 team in the National League in home runs, #1 in the major leagues in turning double plays, and #1 in getting base runners. So they have some glistening credentials. The Cardinals come right back, of course. Baseball's running his team and the best defensive team in the National League. 3-2.
There it was. He unbuttoned his shirt on that one. 3-1, and you look for a pitch and you can get a pretty good cut, which is what Brenly just had. I mean, he unloosens himself on this one. Pena down low. He gets it in a good spot, but he didn't get cheated on that swing.
3-2 to Bob Brenly. Jose Uribe on deck. Got him. Boy, he kind of turned that thing over. The bottom dropped out. Brenly turned to no doubt ask Kibler, did I swing at a strike? Down he goes. Strikeout number 2 for Greg Matthews. And now he'll go head-to-head with Uribe.
23, shortstop, Jose.
If you wonder about him turning that pitch over, our speed gun, we might need a sundial. 75 miles an hour.
Just about over the speed limit.
Big year for Uribe, hitting .291. He had a 4-hit game in the end of September. He'd really come strong with the bat. He has always been a fine defensive infielder. A couple of years ago, he was the backup to Ozzie Smith. Played maybe 14, 15 games, but now he's on solid ground. Oh, 0-1. Off speed. On deck, a good hitting pitcher, Rick Russell. One ball and 1 strike to count to Jose Uribe. Good change. Tony Pena with that driver's glove that he wears behind the plate. It is a good inch smaller in circumference than any other glove in the league. But that's the way he likes it. He can actually bend it in half, so it's very pliable. And when he reaches in there, he doesn't have to search for a shoe in the bottom of the closet. It's right there. 1-2. 2-2.
It's got that big break in it, which is the difference in the gloves nowadays, because they use them like first basemen to catch it up in the webbing. The fact that it is small is easy to handle for him, but it's that break that makes the difference.
You could probably put that inside the old knuckleball glove that was on the scene for a while. And he chased that change down and away. 3 strikeouts for Greg Matthews as the Giants are gone in order. At the end of an inning and a half, 1-0 San Francisco.
With Matthews, it's a combination of his fastball and changing speeds. Now here you see him just kind of turn that ball over. That's what the hitter sees. And it's a change of speed out of the zone. Uribe chases it, and that's his 3rd strikeout. That's when you talk about the fastball setting up the other pitches, because Matthews not going to blow you away with the fastball, but if he's got a good one and spotting it well, you can't look for a particular pitch. So he changes speeds, and he can do exactly what he's been doing. He's got 3 strikeouts.
Danny Dreesen to start it off against Rick Russell. Fastball is hit right at Will Clark, and that's that for Dreesen. First ball swinging, 1 up, 1 away. For the Cardinals, you certainly don't expect any power, especially with Jack Clark sitting it out. Clark, who furnished about almost 40% of home runs for the Cardinals. Jack Clark out of the lineup, and even with him, the Cardinals were the only major league team this year to hit less than 100 home runs. So you can imagine they've really lost the nucleus of the attack with Clark out. A drive to right, Maldonado going back to flag it.
It's a tribute to Russell's control. There's no sense waiting for the base on balls. As Vin said just a moment ago, he's not going to give it to you. So jump on that first one, and Maldonado makes a good play on the ball well hit. Now, Pendleton is the next hitter. Dreesen has hit the first pitch. McGee has hit the first pitch. Pendleton knows this guy's a sinker baller. He moved up on McDowell against the Mets to hit that dramatic home run. Chances are he'll be up on the plate here, but now you have a decision to make. Do you spot him a strike or not? If I were Pendleton, if it was a good one, I'd take a hack at it.
Pendleton has more power as a left-handed hitter and a better average right-handed. One to nothing in favor of the Giants. We're in the bottom of the second inning, 2 down. Pendleton followed by Kurt Ford in the lineup on the corner. Good sinker.
You don't think Russell knew? Although Pendleton was taken all the way, he did not give him a good ball on that first pitch.
Pendleton hits him fairly well in his career, hitting .330 against Russell. Terry, in his own words, and for kids watching, he's an interesting study. He said, quote, "I was the worst little league player that ever played the game." You'd never know it looking at all the tools he brings to the ballpark.
He's up on that plate too, Vin.
Fisted foul off to the left, out of play, and it's still 1-2.
The theory of that, of course, is to get that sinker ball before it breaks, and that's why you move up like that, and then you're supposed to lay off of it because it'll be out of the strike zone if he doesn't get it up high enough for you. But boy, is that so easy to say.
Russell has a pitch, he calls it the 4-seam fastball, and that's one that rises a little bit. 2 balls and 2 strikes to count. So Russell and Brenly, Clark, Thompson, Uribe, and Mitchell, Leonard, Davis, and Maldonado behind him. 2-2. Off speed and hit to Rob Thompson. So that's 6 in a row retired by Russell. It's 1-0 Giants at the end of 2, and we'll be back after these messages from your local station. The 1987 National League Championship Series is brought to you by Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodwrench. No one. And by Kellogg's Brand Flakes, the delicious high-fiber cereal that helps keep you fit on the inside. We're on the inside of Busch Stadium in St. Louis. 1-0 Giants. Rick Russell, followed by Rob Thompson, and then it'll be Kevin Mitchell. Russell, a man who can hurt you with the bat. Off speed for a strike, 0-1. One ball and 1 strike.
He's really choked up on that bat. He just wants to make contact, put it in play.
He, as you saw, 1 home run. It was against Cincinnati's Ron Robinson. That's a strike. 1-2. The only run, if you joined us late, Rob Thompson, the leadoff man, hit a ground ball with English on it off the end of the bat, and it fooled Dan Dreesen for an error. And he eventually worked his way around to third, having tagged up on a fly ball, scored on a ground ball to Pendleton. Fly ball into shallow left. Coleman, a late start, but he picked it off anyway. 1 down. Rob Thompson was aboard on the air by Dan Dreesen. That's the difference in the game right now. Rob took second on a single by Mitchell, tagged up and went to third on Leonard's fly ball, and then came home on the ground ball where it certainly appeared as if Pendleton had a play to get him. Good fastball. That's about as hard as he's thrown tonight, right there.
Right there is the hardest he's thrown, but it just keeps setting up that off-speed pitch. When you can change speeds like he can, that fastball looks very fast.
Interesting, Thompson has 10 home runs, but he's certainly not considered a power hitter or any threat. And in his leadoff role, you look at him in relationship to where he is to home plate. He leads the Giants in being hit by pitchers. He's been hit 8 times. So he kind of hangs over that inside corner, which would seem to tell you he likes the ball away.
He rooms with Mike Eldreddy, and talking to him, he says, boy, I want some of the Eldreddy's thinking to rub off on me, because Eldreddy's one of those guys who visualizes that perfect swing and really has an idea up there.
1-2. Got That's 4 strikeouts for Greg Matthews. He's retired 8 in a row.
And Thompson was way out in front of that pitch, and you just keep talking about how the fastball sets up the other pitch, and that's why when you talk about Matthews, he needs a combination of the two. He can't just get by with one. You can't say, well, his off speed is good, and there you see it. You can see the rotation, and Thompson chases it and doesn't get it.
Boy, what he has going tonight so far is great arm speed. I mean, his arm is driving through. You have to think fastball, and then somehow he pulls that string.
Well, that's what makes the change of pace effective. If it doesn't look like a fastball, forget it. You'll be backing up third.
So 4 strikeouts in 2 2/3 innings. There's the fastball, and he comes right back with a change in the same motion. 1-1. Best changeup we've seen in the National League in the last few years belonged to Mario Soto of the Cincinnati Reds. Of course, he also had a 90-mile-an-hour fastball.
That'll help. That pitch right there is to keep Kevin Mitchell honest. He got that ball up and in. He's not afraid to come inside. Matthews really in control here.
2-1 to Mitchell. 2 out in the third. 1-0 Giants. Fouled away off the end of the bat, dribbling over to the Cardinal dugout. Pena, as you might notice, with the bases empty, is a man sitting down on the job. In fact, the only way he can get any lower is if he dug a hole and sat in the hole. But of course, he can have that luxury only with the bases empty.
It's probably the worst catching position of any major leaguer.
2-2. See if he gets all the way down again.
Well, they kind of got on him about that a little bit. He doesn't kind of spread out like he used to on a couple pitches he has. He wants to give the low target. He got that from catching De Leon. Make sure he gets the ball down.
There he goes. And Mitchell goes out after it, hits a fly ball to Coleman. 9 in a row retired by Greg Matthews, but the Giants have a run. And at the end of 2.5, 1-0 San Francisco. His name is Roger Craig, but when he came to the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1955, they called him Slim, not because he's 6'4", but you had to be an old movie buff to remember a character actor named Slim Somerville. Well, that was his name. He wound up winning one of the World Series games that gave the Brooklyn Dodgers their only championship, and that was against the Yankees in 1955. He has the ups and the downs. He lost 20 games twice for the New York Mets. He had the honor of balking in the first run ever against the Mets. And then later on, he pitched in the World Series for the Cardinals and was a winner. Roger Craig. Here's Curt Ford. And he drives it to right. He didn't get enough of it, and Maldonado was right there. So 1 away, and Tony Pena coming up. Pena has been a big disappointment here after the trade with Pittsburgh that sent Mike LaValliere, Mike Dunn, and Andy Van Slyke to Pittsburgh. However, they found out one good reason why Pena was struggling with the bat. He was having trouble with his eyes. So Pena, late in the year, has gone to glasses. Next year, he'll try contacts.
It was Johnny Lewis, one of the coaches, who spotted it.
And he promptly bangs it to center. First Cardinal hit.
Pena says he has trouble with the glasses on foul balls, but I see now he seems like he's adjusting or taking them off. Johnny Lewis said he was missing too many pitches, and he said, I had that problem, and I said, I don't think he sees too well. So he told Dr. Stan London, Gene Gieselman, the trainer, and they checked his eyes, and the next day he had the glasses.
I'm amazed he catches without them. If he can't see them to hit, how does he see them to catch?
I don't know.
Matthews bunting. Down to get it is Russell, and the play has to go to Rob Thompson covering. So the tying run is at second base with 2 out. By the way, in pointing out Rick Russell handling that bunt, Russell won a Gold Glove in his career, so he's a good defensive pitcher.
He helps himself. Watch, he's just in perfect position to go either way. Comes up, makes sure he knows his place at first base, and makes it.
So Vince Coleman coming up, trying to pick up Tony Pena and get the Cardinals even. It's 1-0 Giants, bottom of the third, with 2 out. Kevin Mitchell plays about even with the bag at third. Ball one, 1-0.
Coleman's theory to hit Russell is to try to hit up the middle or to left field. Try not to pull him. Go with him.
Ball two. Another thing in this ball game the teams share, catchers who run pretty well. Tony Pena and Bob Brenly. It is very rare that Coleman swings at a 2-0 pitch. In fact, would you believe in the entire season he has only swung 2-0 7 times all year. Takes a strike. 2-1.
That is rare in this day and age, only because everybody seems to have the hit sign 2-0. The manager controls 2 balls and no strikes, 3-1, and he'll give you a take sign, but you're hitting every time you walk in the box.
2 balls, 1 strike. Just outside. John Kibler almost started with the right arm. So Russell, who averages 1 walk a game, is 3-1 to Vince Coleman. On deck, Ozzie Smith.
He doesn't miss by much. He and Coleman really watches. You can see John behind the plate. Kibler, that right hand move.
3-1. Ground ball up the middle. Base hit. Here comes Pena to score, and we're all even at 1.
That's what he wanted to do. And now you got the big battle. He's on first base, and the message is you can't stop me, and the signs are up. Go, go, go. And Coleman says they're not going to dictate when I'm going to run, because as soon as I get on, I'm going to run.
The most incredible stat of the night. Do you know that no one has attempted a stolen base in Russell's 8 starts with the Giants?
You're going to see it now.
Yeah. And a bluff. And a foul at the plate, and the count 0-1. Vince Coleman was saying that Russell has a tendency to lean. You really have to read him, but he doesn't want the fact that Russell is tough to run on to intimidate him.
He said that he will run. The only thing that will stop him is going to be the tarp, and he's got his tarp detector on. He's checking now with first base umpire to see if there's possibility of a balk. He wants a little edge.
109 stolen bases for Coleman. There's another thought if you're Brenly. You have a sinker ball pitcher, but with a runner on and a left-hand hitter up. What Brenly does is look at Uribe. He doesn't have to worry about Coleman. Uribe will break, as will Rob Thompson. So that's how he knows when the run is going. And another bluff and a foul ball. One man in the Giant dugout will also holler, only one. And normally it's Bill Fahey, the first base coach, when the run is going.
And he's getting help from Roger Craig. But I tell you something, Vin, with a guy like Coleman, you're not going to worry about your infielder. You're going to get that ball and throw it. If you wait to see an infielder get over to second base, it's going to be too late. And Coleman is one of those guys who his first 2 steps, he'll be looking at the catcher, see what he's doing.
0-2 the count. And he goes on a pitch out. The throw, they got him from me to you. So Bob Brenly stuns the Cardinals as he hangs Coleman out to dry, but the Cardinals get the tying run. And at the end of 3, a 1-1 tie. Now a look back at a very special Olympic moment.
Here's Coleman breaking on that last steal. And you can see head down and digging hard, but Brenly, a perfect pitch out throw. He gets him easily, man.
The one thing Roger Craig said that he had a special talk with his pitchers, because some of them have a tendency of aiming a pitch out, and they'll throw a 60-mile-an-hour pitch out. But Russell cut loose. He wasn't aiming, and Brenly makes the perfect throw.
And look where he throws it. First base side of second base, and all they have to do is catch the ball and drop the glove.
So the first man to try and steal against Russell in a Giant uniform. And they get him. Vince Coleman, the premier base stealer in the league.
And there's nothing that stops running more than a pitch out that works for the other club. Roger Craig, he believes in the pitch. He says it's a great weapon because you know now that every time they get on, they have to be thinking about Roger Craig calling pitch outs.
Number 1 in the National League in a success ratio and percentage against enemy base runners. And the Giants immediately put the credential on the desk for all to see. Jeff Leonard has started off in the 4th, a 1-1 tie, and he's way out in front of it. Some of the Giants have been starting that swing sometimes this morning, and the pitch getting up to the plate tonight. They're having to calm down a little against Greg Matthews. Leonard a fly ball in the first inning, but it was important. And another fly ball to dead center. A late start by McGee, and this one is gone. Leonard reaching the seats in center field. The Giants, the #2 home run hitting team in the league with 205, and now put their brand on this one. And it is 2-1 San Francisco.
He couldn't pick a bigger part of the ballpark than center field to hit it out of. Looked like a fastball, and it just jumped out of here.
It's interesting that the Giants hit 16 home runs against the Cardinals and more here at an airport, Busch Stadium, than they did at Candlestick. 2-1 San Francisco, and Candy Maldonado, the batter, grounded to third in the first inning to pick up the run when Terry Pendleton opted to go to first. Strike. No balls and 1 strike to Maldonado. Chili Davis on deck. Another fly ball, but that's just straightaway center to McGee, and Willie has 3 gold gloves in the closet and puts that one away. So 1 down, and Chili Davis coming up. San Francisco, a remarkable team, only the 10th team in history to come from 100 losses to win from 1985 to 1987. And they're only the 5th team to come from 100 losses to become a division champion 2 years apart. Chili Davis struck out in the first inning. Chopper to third. Pendleton stays with it. 2 down. So Greg Matthews, after retiring 9 in a row, gives up the home run to Leonard. Now with 2 out, he'll go against Will Clark. Clark was robbed of a hit on a fine play by Tommy Hurd. What a swinger. This kid is really something. Off the campus of Mississippi State. Wow, what a stroke.
And he knows that he's had to adjust, because the higher your average and the more hits you get, the less fastballs you're going to see. So they're throwing a lot of slow curveballs, and he's adjusted.
He's had a marvelous year. 29 doubles, 35 home runs, 91 RBIs. And just a couple of years ago, he was on the 1984 United States Olympic baseball team. 1 ball and no strikes to Will Clark. 2-0.
It's funny, he said before the game that I usually get jammed against left-handers because I wait longer on the pitch. Right-handers, I don't. So he said he waits longer and causes him to get jammed, but it allows him to hit that ball the opposite field pretty hard.
2-0 the count. On the corner, looking at Ozzie Smith, the Cardinal shortstop, who is really filling up the middle. He is on the rim and way to his left. That's the one thing that Ozzie Smith has changed over the years. Remember, he had a rotator cuff injury, which has affected his arm considerably. And he can't go deep in the hole. The other thing that you see Ozzie do a lot, and look for that during the series, he'll make a lot of throws on the run that puts a little less strain on his arm. Boy, he's deep on Clark. 2-2. Time.
I think one of the reasons he could give up the hole, too, is that fellow playing third base, Pendleton. He knows how much range he has. If he had some foul pole down there that wouldn't move, then I think he might have to protect it a little more.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And that's hit down the left field line, slicing as she goes foul. So Clark will come back and try it again. 2 balls and 2 strikes, and Vince Coleman, running for office, tosses a souvenir up into the seats.
Remember the years some ball player did that and Gabe Paul charged them?
Well, you know, really, when you think about it.
Stop him from doing that.
Especially if you're a visitor. You come in to play here, and you take a ball and throw it up in the stands, and everybody says, what a terrific guy. It's like having him come over to your house and give your silverware away. Isn't that terrific? What a wonderful human being.
Yeah, here, have a cup, have a fork, knife.
2-2 the count to Will Clark. On deck, Bob Brenly. And it's 2-1 Giants in the 4th. Tomorrow, the second game, John Tudor and Dave Dravecki. Whoa, just missed, and Matthews was leaving the scene.
You make a pitch like that, you want it. A 2-2 pitch, and he really nibbles at the corner. Close.
Clark will strike out twice as much as he walks. Well, it took a lot to take that one. And this time he hits it to center, and that'll be a base hit. He was jammed, too, and he was still able to flare it.
Well, that's a whole new thing that they have, that if you get jammed, it means you're keeping your front shoulder in and you're not flying open and pulling off the ball. You don't want to pull off the ball. You want to stay there. But sometimes you get jammed on that particular pitch, just as Clark did. He may have gotten jammed, but as Vince said, he just got it off. There it is. You see him kind of lean back because he was trying to get away from the inside pitch, kind of flicking it out there, which he did.
Well, here's Bob Brenly, who has already figured prominently by throwing out Vince Coleman. 0-1 to count. Brenly struck out in the second inning. We're talking about catchers who run, and Brenly falls into that category. He stole home against San Diego. Off speed in there for strike 2. And Brenly grounded into only 5 double plays. Boy, it's nice to have a catcher with young legs. Huh?
Yes, sir. Young legs that work. My legs were young, but they didn't work.
Tony Pena, who runs well, scored the Cardinal run in the 3rd inning. And there's a pickoff throw. Clark on Dreesen's throw to Ozzie, and Ozzie's high with the tag. Clark's feet were on the bag, and then Ozzie tagged him on the chest. And Clark is not a good base runner.
It was that one-way lead. The first move he was going to break, he broke, and they got him picked off easily. Ozzie's got the ball, but watch him tag. Look where he tagged him. He kind of just, how do you do it? And it's a good call at second base by Jim Quick. And I'll tell you, you don't see Ozzie do that. If he drops the glove, he's got him.
Sure. He kind of pulled his feet back, almost Olay, like the bullfighter.
How do you do? Like he didn't want to touch him.
But Brenly chases it and strikes out for the second time. 5 strikeouts for Greg Matthews. 1 run, 2 hits. Jeffrey Leonard hits the seats in center, and it's 2-1 Giants.
Here's that play again. It looks like Ozzie Smith sees Will Clark veering in and going to take him out to play, and he just kind of backs off. And really, how do you do? I mean, that's really unusual, Ben.
And how? Now we see Ozzie. The only other thing more unusual is to see Ozzie Smith strike out. He's been the toughest hitter to strike out last year, the 2nd toughest this year. In fact, with over 600 at-bats, he's only struck out 36 times. 1 ball, 1 strike, and a drive into right center field in the gap. Maldonado and Davis chasing it, and it's going to bounce, and it is touched by a fan or no. Evidently no, and it'll be a triple for Ozzie Smith. So Ozzie Smith drives one to right center. It took that kangaroo hop up against the wall, and the fans tried to grab it. It would then have been a ground rule double, but they couldn't reach it.
It bounces high enough, and it was close, but I don't believe he touched him. And it's a 3-base hit, and Ozzie Smith really muscled up on that one.
Talking about muscle, that's just what Ozzie brought to the dance this year. He's about 16 pounds heavier than in the past. And he triples to right center, so the tying run is 90 feet away. And the batter, Tommy Hurd. What did we say earlier in the scouting report? If you want to pick up a guy from third with a fly ball, Tommy Hurd is your man. Well, let's see if that holds up. He had a dozen scoring fly balls, more than anybody else in the Cardinal team, more than anybody else in the Giant team.
Infield is playing halfway except for third. Mitchell now moves back to half step.
And he hits a fly ball, and tagging is Ozzie, but it's not much of a throw for Jeff Leonard. And Ozzie is not going to come, not with no one out at the time. So that's just 1 out, and Hurd does not live up to his advanced billing as he leaves Ozzie at third, and the batter will be Dan Dreesen.
First baseman.
Dreesen would like to atone for his error in the first inning that cost a run. Danny with 11 RBIs during the regular year. Of course, every time Dreesen comes up, certainly here in St. Louis, the people have to be saying, oh, if it was only Jack Clark.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
2-1 Giants, 4th inning. Strike. 0-1.
Russell is so effortless. It looks like he's not really throwing with good stuff, but he's got a lot of movement on that ball.
One ball and one strike. So Ozzie Smith triples. Tommy Herr fly ball to shallow left. One ball and one strike. Ball 2 to Dan Greason. Greason grounded out to Will Clark in the second inning.
They'll come to the plate. It looks like first, third. Well, they're moving in now, all of them.
2-1. Slow curve, and that's popped up into shallow left. Leonard's going to have to come for it, and he's there. Nowhere for Ozzie to go. Boy, what a job of pitching by Rick Russell. So 2 down, and Willie McGee the batter, and Ozzie is still there.
The yardstick of the good pitcher has always been, what does he do with a man on third and less than 2 outs? And Russell is just showing you why he's a winner. And McGee, who jumped on the first pitch and lined hard to right, is in that batter's box.
Interesting, too, you would expect Russell, who has built a reputation of being a sinker ball pitcher, that in a jam like this you'd see ground balls to the infielders. Instead, the ball's been in the air, but not very deep.
His hitters are trying to get under that ball to get that sacrifice fly. Herr, of course, the key man in this inning.
Half swing. They're going to look at third. No swing, says Eric Gregg. Willie McGee with 105 runs batted in. Just 1 less than Jack Clark. And they're asking him to get the tying run home. Fouled away. He was late on a pretty good fastball. And the count 1-1. That fastball of Russell, pretty good, 88.
Compared to the other stuff, it looked faster.
Yeah. Ball 2, 2-1. Infield back to a normal depth, but not Kevin Mitchell. He has to play up inside the bag at third. Whitey Herzog chewing away, sweating out the tying run. And the firm of Craig and Zimmer watching. Base hit into left field. So Willie McGee, with his left wrist heavily taped with a bad left thumb, drives in the tying run.
That was a sinker ball, and he did not try to pull it. Went with the pitch and sends it into left field. That was a good piece of hitting because it's a good pitch. He doesn't try to pull it. You see him go, hit the ball down opposite field.
Now we'll see about Willie McGee. He's stolen 16 out of 20, and we'll see if they turn him loose. Big rip by Terry Pendleton, 0-1.
One of the things they talk about, Vin, unless he's different tonight, is McGee has not been running because of that bad leg. And I'm sure with the move that Russell has, not being able to get a jump, but with 2 outs, he's got to get in scoring position.
And you have a left-hand hitter up there, so the first baseman is on the bag, and the right side of the infield open. And they'll drive him back just for good measure. Pendleton has been a much better hitter all year long with men on base. Maybe 60 points higher with people on. Fouled away, 0-2.
You know, Craig not only calls pitch outs, he calls when they should throw over to first base. And Brenly, who has a good arm, as you can see by those statistics, he doesn't have the sign like when we saw Toronto just point over to first base. He actually uses fingers to indicate throw to first base.
Bob Melvin probably has a better throwing arm than Brenly, but Brenly is a better hitter.
He's checking with Craig constantly. If you're wondering who he was looking at, he was looking at Craig, who tells him to throw over there or to pitch out. There
you know,
he
when
goes.
Roger was the pitching coach of Detroit, he tells about having to prove himself to a couple of the rather famous Detroit pitchers. 0-2. And Pendleton chasing a bad ball. But after he called 2 pitch outs and got 2 runners, one of the top Detroit pitchers said, okay, from now on you call him. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Whitey Herzog, only the 37th manager to pilot clubs to 1,000 victories. Tommy Hurt tells you why. You do it his way if you want to remain a Cardinal. Because I always love Herzog's line. He said, baseball has been good to me ever since I stopped trying to play it. He wasn't a bad outfielder first baseman, however. And into the 5th, all even at 2. It'll be Jose Uribe, Rick Russell, and then Rob Thompson. Uribe struck out in the 2nd inning. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Cardinals, 2 runs, 3 hits for the Giants.
Matthews with that pitch has made 58 pitches, 42 strikes, 16 balls.
And of course Matthews is the big story tonight. Rushed into the breach when Danny Cox was unable to pitch because of a bad neck. He worked 2 innings Sunday and now comes right back with this big spot. A drive into left center field. McGee was shading the other way and he has to short hop it, and if he doesn't short hop it, that goes all the way to the river.
But that's what they talk about the Cardinals. They say the Cardinal outfield can turn a triple into an out and turn a walk into a triple. McGee short hops it, and I mean, he makes a sensational play, making it look pretty easy, because as you say, Vin, that thing probably would end up under that arch.
So Uribe, a single. Willie making a dazzling backhand short hopper of it. Here's Rick Russell, who flied to left, and he's around to bunt. At least he was if he had gotten a pitch. Now he has to check with Don Zimmer to see if the bunt is on.
He better make Dreesen field it.
Russell has 7 sacrifices and tries for number 8. He's got it. Pena to Tommy Hurt.
He really deadened that ball so nicely. Uribe moves on down there. Russell got it on that dirt part and just trickled out there. A perfect putt. See how hard they're charging. Pelton coming in from 3rd. Pena says, I'll take it. And a perfect sacrifice bunt.
So Jose Uribe at 2nd base, 1 out in the 5th inning. Rob Thompson trying to pick him up. Thompson is 0 for 2. Reached on an error and scored and struck out. The Giant pitchers are set. Dravecki tomorrow, Hamaker Friday, and Kruko Saturday.
You know, just a footnote to that Danny Cox story. Whitey wanted him to start not only because he thought he was his best pitcher, but he was the one guy he could use in 3 games. He had him planned for 1, 4, and 7 if it goes that far.
1 ball and no strikes. 1-1. The other problem is that Herzog had to decide, and he opted for 8 pitchers and 16 players. Well, now he has 8 pitchers, but one of them can't pitch. He is really in trouble, and he was worrying about a blowout.
A blowout, and you know, somebody comes up like Tudor or Tender Arm or something. I tell you, Whitey's done some job of managing this year.
1 ball and 1 strike to count to Rob Thompson. In there, 1-2. Rob Thompson was scouted by the son of the 3rd base coach for the Giants, Don Zimmer. And when Don was with the Yankees, he was saying, gee, I really feel good. He said, you know, that kid playing for the Giants, my son scouted him. And now Tippy's over there in a Giant livery. Comebacker. Instead, it'll go by the mound to Ozzie. And on the play, Uribe takes 3rd.
You can see the advantage of Willie McGee cutting that ball off. True, he backhanded, and if it gets by him and all that, but the fact is he did cut it off. And that's why we talked about, when you talk about a ball club built for a ballpark, you talk about defense, because Coleman's going to steal on the cow pasture. I mean, forget about that end of it. But when you can cut the gaps like they do, and McGee did, here is Uribe at 3rd with 2 outs. But if that ball gets by, he's at 3rd with 1 out.
So with that runner at 3rd and 2 down, the batter is Kevin Mitchell, who's single to left and flied to left. 1 for 2. Ball 1. One thing you have to worry with Matthews, who is a finesse pitcher, but he does have 7 wild pitches in limited duty. So that puts a little extra heat on Tony Pena with a runner at 3rd. 2-2 tie in the 5th, 2 out. Fouled away off first, out of play, back into the crowd. The crowd, of course, has been a big story here in St. Louis. They finished with over 3 million for the first time in Cardinal history. The Mets also drew 3 million, and baseball had a banner year, over 52 million. What a year. 1 ball and 1 strike to Mitchell. Yep, in the dirt. 2-1.
Pena did a good job of getting that body in front of that ball. You don't see him sitting down with a man on third base. You have to block that ball. That's your job. Now watch him shift over there.
And as we said, especially with Matthews, who has a tendency to throw him away once in a while. 2-1. And it's a hopper that eats up Ozzie, and he stays with it. Look at that parachute he threw to Dreesen. Ozzie Smith takes a base hit away from Mitchell and a run, and it's 2-2 to the bottom of the 5th. We were telling you Ozzie has trouble throwing flat-footed because of the rotator cuff injury. Look at this. It was like a ping pong ball in a windstorm. It just kind of floated over there, but it was in plenty of time since it was hit so hard. So Mitchell robbed of the hit, and Ozzie got the job done.
I mean, it looks like an infield fly going over there. But you know what it does point up to, Vin, is the fact that the Cardinals are not hurting when they pitch left-handers, and you put a lot of right-hand hitters in there because you have such great defense on that side in the person of Ozzie Smith and Pendleton. He made a tremendous play on that.
Well, we see now about Kurt Ford leading off matters in the bottom of the 5th. A chopper to Kevin Mitchell. 1 down. So that'll bring up Tony Pena. Kevin Mitchell doing a solid job.
Catcher Tony Pena.
At third base ever come to San Francisco from San Diego. And he's had 2 different years. Last year, when Kevin was with the Mets, he had a great first half, and he hit the skids after the All-Star game. This year, reverse. So he comes in here playing solid. Tony Pena, single, scored a run in the 3rd inning. Ball 1. Two balls and no strikes. The count to Tony Pena. On deck, Greg Matthews, who's not bad with the bat. He's a little bit better hitter than Danny Cox, who should have been pitching tonight. And of course, it was Matthews' sacrifice in the 3rd inning that set up the run. 2-2 tie. Bottom of the 5th, 1 away. Oh, did he have a rip and got a little of it? Tony Pena.
He's going to rest just a few minutes because that hit right on the foot. There you see it hitting right on the heel.
For big leaguers, you're always hit by the foul on the front foot. Left foot if you're right-handed, right foot if you're left-handed. Because the big leaguer's bat is so quick, they're always out in front. If you were a big leaguer and you hit on the back foot, then you'd really be late. So most of the time, it's that front foot. Pena now is okay.
He'd have that steel toe I talk about in there, he'd be all right.
He'd need a steel toe, a steel heel,
a steel everything. Shin guards on.
2-2 the count to Tony Pena. 1 out in the 5th, a 2-2 tie. Game 1. Sinker in the dirt. Ball 3.
He's got a little trigger mechanism that he uses, Pena. You watch that right arm of his as he starts to get set. He'll kind of flick it in, much like Joe Morgan used to, except Joe did it 3 or 4 times.
Oh, Joe used to beat his ribs. There it is. And he walks. So Rick Russell, whose high in walks has been 2. Can you imagine a high in walks 2? Well, he walks a man tonight. There used to be a fellow in New York. They called him the nighttime mayor of New York, Danny Healy. And he would talk about it, and using Healy's expression, he would say Rick Russell gives up a walk as easily as he would give up a tattoo. Not a bad line.
Not a bad line.
All right, let's see if Matthews gets a bunt down now. He sacrificed in the third, and the Giants are looking bunt.
Charging hard.
Clark is really coming. Strike.
This is almost one of those spots, depending on how the pitcher can handle the ball, where you'd almost say to your pitcher, lay that ball in and we can make a play at second base. Now, you see Clark really staring in at Craig, and Craig is in control of everything from that dugout.
You know, it's funny. I was sitting in the office with Craig, and Norm Sherry came in, and Roger said, don't forget to remind the pitchers about our bunt play. And I bit my tongue because I wanted to ask him what it was, but of course it was inside stuff. There's the bunt. And the only play is to Rob Thompson. So Greg Matthews does what they say he can do. Good man with the bat. Twice he has been asked to push the runner along, and he's 2 for 2. And Pena, who runs pretty well at second base, and Matthews getting high fives.
That's one thing the Cardinals have been able to do all year, the basic things, the little things, the things that seem to get lost in the box score, but they put up the right numbers at the end.
When you realize the Cardinals 5 times in the last 6 years have been last in home runs. One year they weren't last because Pittsburgh hit fewer, but that's why they have to do so many little things to beat you. And here is Coleman. Fly to center, single to drive in a run, and then was thrown out trying to steal. Right. 0-1. Two tie. Bottom of the 5th inning, 2 out. And on deck, Ozzie Smith. Check swing. No swing. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Coleman, Smith, Herr, McGee, and Pendleton are all switch hitters. It's almost as if you have 13 men in the lineup. Ball 2.
It's a funny pitch. It looked like an overhand curveball that he threw there and got it way inside, like he was almost giving him a ball to set it up for this one.
2 balls, 1 strike. Missed. Ball 3.
Russell wanted that one.
Well, when you look at Coleman's numbers and you realize he has struck out 126 times, Roger Craig watching to see whether they will give Coleman the green light. 3-1 against a control pitcher. And ball 4. Boy, that is really news for Rick Russell to walk 2 in 1 inning. And Ozzie Smith coming up. Grounded to short and triple. A 2-2 tie. Bottom of the 5th inning, 2 out. With Pena at second and Coleman at first. Ground foul outside of first and down the line.
He really spun on that one like he had made up his mind that he was going to pull that ball through that gap. He really spun on that one because against a sinker ball, they were talking about trying to hit it up the middle of the opposite field, although he did triple into right center field. He hit the first time at bat, he hit right to the shortstop, but this one he really spun on, opened up quickly.
No balls and 1 strike, Ozzie. Foul back, 0-2. Ozzie, in 10 league championship series games, is hitting .471. You want to talk about a guy really producing in the spotlight.
Well, they call him the club's most valuable player, and you can see why, because it not only with the bat and the glove, in the clubhouse he is something special.
0-2, the count to Ozzie Smith. Pena at second, Coleman at first. Ball 1. There's that pitch again. That's that same wobbler that he throws up there. 1-2. Ground ball to the right side. Rob Thompson is there over to Will Clark, and the Cardinals lead 2. And at the end of 5, it remains Giants 2, Cardinals 2.
Today, when he goes up to bat, he's got to get prepared, much like a doctor for surgery. There's Jeff Leonard putting some of that stickum on. Wide receivers use that in football. Now his hands are sticky, so he puts on gloves. And here he is earlier, and it seemed to work for him, because now he not only hits it, he points to it and says, there it goes, and I know it's going. And it took him about maybe 2-3 minutes to get around there. He walked from halfway between third and home, which makes a lot of pitchers very happy.
If you haven't been watching much television this year and you see Jeff Leonard, you look at his number, and maybe it's a surprise. It's certainly not a surprise to anybody in San Francisco, or for that matter in the National League. 0-0. The idea was Jeffrey felt he'd had so many different injuries that he was starting brand new this spring, and he decided, I'm going to start from scratch. So you're looking at scratch. 0-0. 2-0 the count of Jeff, but wouldn't you know, he hurt himself anyway. He's got a sore wrist.
And he's got the batting gloves on, and he's got the running gloves in his pocket. And don't ask me about running gloves, except that they say, well, they're not as expensive as the batting gloves, and that's why I wear them.
2 balls and no strikes. The count to Jeff Leonard. Strike. Saturday, when the Cardinals celebrated the 3 millionth fan here, a lot of the Cardinals came out late in the game and threw batting gloves and batting wristbands up into the stands for souvenirs. You know they're not expensive. Ball 3.
Well, not to them anyhow, because everything they get from the manufacturers is given to them. I mean, I've never seen so many shoes. One fella got 60 pair.
3-1 the count to Leonard. Fly deep to center and then hit one in the seats in dead center. And pops it up on the right side. Tommy Herr angling out. Kurt Ford coming in. Ford has the easier play. 1 out in the 6th inning. So Leonard a fly ball, followed by Candy Maldonado. Maldonado grounded to third and fly to center. Candy is 0 for 2.
This is one of Jose Morales' projects, Maldonado, and what he watches is his back foot. He doesn't want him to get too far back and close his stance. He wants him to go directly at the pitcher. And that's a key thing for him. You see him digging in. He's got the feel just right.
You know, Maldonado in June was hitting .360 when he suffered a broken ring finger going after a ball in the right field corner at Candlestick. When he came back off the DL, look what he hit. .685. He was last year's MVP on the Giants. 0-2.
Matthews really doing a good job in and out, changing speeds.
He's allowed 2 runs, 1 of the 2 unearned on an error. 1-2 the count to Maldonado. Candy followed by Chili Davis. Fouled off.
Morales feels that he's a better hitter when he's hitting straight away, because then if the ball is inside, he thinks he's strong enough to react and able to pull it. But if he tries to pull it, then he's opening up too soon, and he just comes off the ball and really doesn't drive it.
Ground foul outside of third. A 2-2 tie. Top of the 6th inning. 1 out. Talking about Morales. Morales and Maldonado were teammates with the Dodgers, so they know each other very well.
Very well, and Candy has great admiration for him from those days.
1-2. And fisted in the air back to second base. Herr going out. McGee coming, but it will be Herr. 2 down in the 6th inning. Candy followed by Chili. That doesn't sound too good, but for the Giants it has paid off. And here's Chili. Struck out and grounded out. 0 for 2.
Boy, I think that's a great lesson for young pitchers. You don't have to have that 100-mile-an-hour fastball or that Nolan Ryan type to get that good hitter, because here's Matthews moving that ball around, but he had Maldonado reaching, and then he jammed him with the fastball inside.
2 out, top of the 6th. 2-2 tie. Off speed for a strike. Matthews with 5 strikeouts has not walked anybody. And picks up the outside corner and the count 0-2.
And the difference in that, the statistics on Davis, 0-2 when he puts it in play, hits .034, but when he's ahead of the count, he's a .364 hitter.
Well, we'll see what he does now behind, and I mean behind, 0-2. Breaking ball, 1-2. Chili Davis, Los Angeles boy, going against Greg Matthews, who's a Southern Californian from Anaheim. And he chased the change, and Greg Matthews strikes out a half a dozen. The Giants are gone in order, and at the end of 5 1/2, a 2-2 tie. Would have to be the remarkable performance by Greg Matthews being rushed into the breach following the inability of Danny Cox to pitch.
I tell you, walking in the clubhouse, I said to Whitey, "You're going to have 9 guys," and Red said, "Well, he'll come up with something," and he has.
Danny Cox should call Walt Terrell of Detroit. Terrell missed a big start because of his stiff neck and then came back and won.
So I tell you, when Matthews does this, it just shows you got a roster, use your guys. He has been the big story.
Big story, but it hasn't been fully written. Let's find out about more. Two, bottom of the 6th inning. Tommy Herr, Dan Dreesen, and Willie McGee, and that's a strike. Tommy Herr twice hit fly balls to left field. However, the frustrating one for him was in the 4th inning when he came up with Ozzie Smith at third and nobody out and couldn't get him home. High drive into deep right field. Back goes Maldonado on the track at the wall. Got it. Tommy Herr, a long out to right field. Tommy had only 2 home runs in the regular year, and both of them hitting right-handed. And it's head-shaking time for Herr.
It looked like it had a chance. It was a fastball. He really turns on it, and he thought for a minute he had it, and so did a lot of people.
Maldonado almost running out of room right there. So 1 away. Dan Dreesen with the count, 1 ball and no strikes. That picked up the edge. 1 ball, 1 strike. Danny Dreesen at the beginning of the year certainly didn't figure to be here. He was without a ball club. Then he signed a contract with St. Louis June 9th. Played 58 games at Louisville. He was promoted to the Cardinals on August 31st, 1 day before the deadline to qualify for postseason play. Fouled out of play. At the time when they brought him up, they thought he was a luxury, albeit an experienced one. He had played for the Expos and the Giants. And Dreesen, when Clark went down, was anything but a luxury. If you study the history books, you'll find out that Dan Dreesen was the first designated hitter for a National League team in a World Series. He hit better than .350 for the Reds when they swept the Yankees in '76. So he's been around. And there is Jack Clark, understandably frustrated, annoyed, short-tempered, disgusted. Fate has dealt him another bad card. No pun intended. Every year, Clark, if it's not torn muscles in the rib cage, and it was the bad thumb. Now it's this year tearing the ankle, the tissue around the ankle.
And if there's one team he wants to play against and one park he wants to go back to, it would be the Giants and Candlestick.
And Whitey Herzog kind of shakes his head, rubs his chin, and says he might be ready for Game 6. Line and slicing into left center. It hits the rug and goes to the wall. And Dreesen will be into second base with a double.
It appears that Russell may be starting to show some chinks. He walked 2 in the 5th inning. Herr hit the ball hard, and now the line drive. So we're liable to get some activity going.
Watch Jack Clark. They also serve who only stand and wait. and cheerlead and watch the double up the alley. So with one out, Willie McGee, whose single got Ozzie Smith home in the 4th inning to tie it up, now trying to get the Cardinals out in front for the first time tonight. A sinker hit into the hole. Uribe goes back to Thompson, who can't handle a low throw, and everybody's safe. But he saved the run on a ball headed for the hole to left field.
And he had Dreesen picked off. Dreesen thought the ball was through there. He did save the run. Now, he loses a little bit of balance here. Dreesen is way up the line. Thompson can't handle the short throw, and it was a tough play for him, so the Cardinals have something going.
It is a base hit for Willie McGee. And a fine effort by Jose Uribe, although they let Dreesen get away on that off-balance throw to Rob Thompson. So 1st and 3rd, 1 out in the 6th, the 2-2 tie, and Terry Pendleton, who was grounded out and struck out, coming up, and the Giant bullpen will move around. Ball 1. Two, 1 out. The infield back in double play depth, although the corners are up. Will Clark and Kevin Mitchell. Pendleton is grounded out and struck out. Willie McGee standing at first, Dreesen at 3rd, and after Pendleton comes Curt Ford. And that's hit in the air down the left field line. Leonard coming, the ball's going to land for a base hit. Dreesen will score on a bloop single to left. 3-2 St. Louis.
It looked like Pendleton made up his mind. He wasn't going to pull that ball, hit with a double play. He went with him, and he bloops it into left field.
Down in the Giant bullpen, amidst the hysteria here at Busch Stadium and calmly loosening up, the right-hander is Kelly Downs and the left-hander Craig Lefferts. So the Giants led 1-0 and the Cardinals tied. The Giants led 2-1 and the Cardinals tie, and now the Cardinals lead 3-2. The big play, the stopper by Uribe, but the inability to get Dreesen, who was hung out to dry otherwise. Russell off the rubber.
And you got a guy in the batter's box who can do a lot of things, and he can really run, so the double play is going to be a tough thing for them to turn over here.
Curt Ford, a left-hand hitter. That's the only surprise, that he's not a switch hitter. It would appear to be right out of the cookie cutter, like so many other Cardinals, but he is left-handed all the way. 1 ball, no strikes. Whitey Herzog has a lead to chew on, 3-2. And Roger Craig scowling a little bit. It is game 1. Long way to go. In fact, that's the big difference nowadays. There's not that feeling of urgency in the first game. It's like the World Series. You know, it takes 4. Lined into right field, charging is Maldonado. Base hit. Stopping at 3rd is McGee, and the bases are loaded with 1 out.
Ford tomahawked that ball, and McGee looked like he was going to stop at 3rd all the way. He did not break as soon as the ball was hit. A bit of a surprise. Watch McGee. Now he sees the ball hit. He stops. The indecision right there cost him. And now he just stops there. He never did look at his coach. He made the decision himself all along.
I'm sure he felt that Maldonado, at least where he stood, Maldonado might have had a play. Nick Leyva, the third base coach, trying to shepherd McGee. And you can see he gave him one little gesture, come on, but McGee wasn't watching Leyva.
He's waving him
now,
in.
Leyva says, come on. By this time, it's too late because McGee's not looking at him.
He didn't look at him hardly at all. And if you're going to do that, you're going to have to make better decisions than what was just made.
4 consecutive hits starting with Greason's double, the infield single by McGee, a bloop single to left by Pendleton, and a fly ball single to right by Ford.
That's not typical to get that many hits and not score a run.
Now here is Tony Pena with the bases loaded, 1 out. Pena has had 8 RBIs out of bases loaded spots this year. He's been very tough, and he wanted to get them all home with that swing. Rick Russell has not been hit that hard, but he's up to his hips in trouble.
Nick Leyva walked down and said, settle down, because Pena really chased a bad ball. It was way out in the strike zone.
Leyva whispering to Willie McGee as he comes down the line from third. 3 runs, 8 hits for the Cardinals, 2 runs, 4 hits for the Giants. In the dirt, nice save by Brentley. 1-1. Russell in a jam is also due to bat 4th when the Giants hit in the 7th inning. McGee, Pendleton, and Ford. Got 3 rabbits out there. High pop foul off third. Kevin Mitchell is over there and makes the play. So Russell, a wily veteran, trying to get out of a tough spot, and gets Pena to foul out. Now the batter is the pitcher, Greg Matthews. So that was a very big out to get Pena.
That's the key, because he can really go after Matthews right now. Of course, he can't let up. Anytime you got somebody with a bat in their hand, they're going to be dangerous. But the key guy is Pena.
Matthews had 13 hits during the regular year, including 3 RBIs, and we do know he can bunt, but of course there are 2 outs. He sacrificed twice tonight. Fouled away, 0-1.
Interesting thing that's happened with pitchers, and Don Robinson of all people brought it up when he goes up to hit, and he named Bobby Welch as another one who does it. They'll go up there looking for the breaking ball, knowing that most guys say, well, the pitcher can't hit the breaking ball, and they look for it.
0-1. Of course, let's face it, Don Robinson is a very good hitting pitcher. So is Bob Welch. So they would go up looking breaking ball, because that's what they're going to get once in a while.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that they're thinking that way,
yeah,
and they're not taking anything for granted.
Right.
And that's why they are good hitters.
1-1. And that's fouled away. Don Robinson predicting that he would hit a home run against Lance McCullers before he went up, and said to Roger Craig, he's going to hang me a slider. And he went up and hit it out.
Well, right now, Matthews has not gotten a breaking ball from Russell yet. He's got 2 strikes on him.
It's 3-2 Cardinals, bottom of the 6th inning. And there's a little looper into center, and it was a breaking ball. And 2 runs will score. And it was a hanging breaking ball. You could have put your hat on it.
It's the one breaking ball he gave him, and it burned him.
It is 5-2 St. Louis here in the 6th inning. Let's take a look at that little breaking ball and the flare to center.
He just put it in play. He reached out, didn't try to jam it or drive it. Wanted to put it in play, and he did.
A maddening inning for the Giants. After all, an infield single by McGee, a bloop single by Pendleton, a bloop single by Ford, and a bloop single by Matthews. The only ball really hit was Greason's double. Sinker. 0-1.
And you've had 2 base running mistakes. Dreesen was hung out to dry. They couldn't get him. Willie McGee should have scored on a base hit. He didn't, and yet it's all erased.
5-2 Cardinals in the 6th. And Vince Coleman, the 8th man to come to the plate. Coleman is fly to center, single to center, and walk. Fouled away. Boy, you talk about a stone on a lake. That thing really skipped. So holding at first is Greg Matthews. Kurt Ford at second. The Cardinals, with a 3-run 6th, have taken a 5-2 lead. The Cardinals were tied with the New York Mets with the best home record in the National League. Fouled away. During the regular year, the Cardinals won 49 and lost 32 here. The Giants are only 2 games above 500 on AstroTurf during the regular year.
Speaking of home records, tomorrow we'll watch that Minnesota game. You talk about a team tough in their home ballpark when they play the Tigers.
0-2 the count. Minnesota won 56 games at home and lost 25. Dome, sweet dome. 1-2 the count of Vince Coleman. Coleman flied to center and singled. Whitey Herzog might have been slightly disappointed when Coleman was thrown out in the third, but now he has seen his Cardinals erupt to take a 5-2 lead. Now back just did get a piece of it. When the Giants bat in the 7th as they try to come back, they'll have Will Clark, Bob Brenly, Jose Uribe, and then Roger Craig knows that Russell is due up 4th, and down by 3 he might very well hit for him. Giants have 3 right-hand hitters on the bench: Melvin, Spire, and Williams. Sinker hit down to Rob Thompson, and that's that. But that 3 runs on 5 hits, and there's the man of the moment, Greg Matthews, who knocked in a couple. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. The 1987 National League Championship Series is brought to you by your Toyota dealer. An all-new Dimension 88 Corolla. Who could ask for anything more? And by Pennzoil Motor Oil, the standard of protection since 1889. Five to 2 Cardinals. A much relieved Willie McGee, I would think.
I would think he's relieved, and I also think his coach, Nick Labia, there he shows the reaction. The coach, that's all he can do is sit there. He said, man, what can I do? I'm waving. I mean, my arm's about to come off. I may suffer a rotator cuff injury, and he's not even looking at me. And, of course, who do you tell that to?
There are times when the base runner doesn't look at the coach when the play's in front of him.
Right.
But when it is behind you, that's what the coach is out there for. And the Cardinals got away with it.
Twice, Dreesen was hung up, and then McGee, but it's all erased now.
Will Clark trying to lead the Giants back now against Greg Matthews, and that's a strike. Clark robbed of a hit on a fine play by Tom Herr, singled and stole a base in the 4th inning. 5-2 St. Louis, 7th inning. Big slow curveball on the corner. Strike 2.
Boy, he's moving it in and out, changing speeds. He knows exactly what he wants to do.
The Giants beat Matthews twice this year. He was 0-2 against them. By the mound, down to Ozzie. One away. Down in the Cardinal bullpen, the ace in the bullpen, Todd Worrell, beginning to loosen up.
And there's the difference. If Worrell leaves his fastball back at the hotel, he's in deep trouble. Yeah. He's a real power pitcher.
Here's Bob Brenly. Struck out twice, 0 for 2. You could see him heave that big sigh. Well, you know it's a little more than just a regular game. Ball 1.
It's been the slow curveball. He started him out on a curveball, but didn't get it in the strike zone. But Brenly has just not been able to figure him out.
Matthews with a half a dozen strikeouts. Ball 2, 2-0. Fly ball into very shallow center. Tommy Herr out and calling. So Brenly a pop fly. So that's 8 in a row. Retired by Matthews, who had a string of 9, gave up a home run, and was allowed just 2 singles since. Matthews, by the way, has made 32 starts during the regular year and completed only 2. And one of those 2 was a shutout. So you can bet they're counting pitches and watching him very, very carefully. Uribe, the hitter with 2 out, and Chris Spire is on deck. Remember, the Giants have 3 right-hand hitters available: Bob Melvin, Chris Spire, and Matt Williams. Left-hander Craig Lefferts throwing alone in the pen now for San Francisco. Off the end of the bat. 0-1. Uribe has struck out and singled. He's 1 for 2. Jose made a good play to backhand McGee's base hit, but then his off-balance throw gave the Giants a big break. 0-2.
Not only is he changing speeds, but he keeps nibbling at that outside corner, and he's making these Giant hitters widen their zone. He's really not hitting the corner. That was off the plate, but not so far that you would take it. And Uribe chasing it, finds himself at the count of strike 2.
No balls and 2 strikes. Time. 5 runs, 9 hits, and an error for the Cardinals. 2 runs, 4 hits, and an error for the Giants. Chase that one. 7 strikeouts. Matthews has retired 9 in a row, and at the end of 6.5 innings, 5-2 St. Louis. On me, Moon. Boy, we got a dandy looking down on this ball game. In the bottom of the 7th inning, with the Cardinals leading the Giants 5-2, Craig Lefferts comes out of the Giant bullpen to pitch to Ozzie Smith. He will turn all the switch hitters around now. They'll be hitting right-handed. Lefferts, who was born in Munich, West Germany, appeared in the 1984 LCS and the World Series for San Diego against Detroit, and he was brilliant. Working on Ozzie, who has grounded to short, tripled to right center, and grounded out. Ozzie also saved a big run back in the 5th inning with Uribe at 3rd and 2 out. Kevin Mitchell really killed the ball, and Ozzie stayed with it to get the last out, preventing Uribe from scoring. 2-1. Little foul off to the right, out of play.
And then kind of a footnote to that, it was McGee who cut that ball off that Uribe hit. Instead of an extra base hit, it was a single.
Right.
And then that was the 3rd out. They were not able to score. I say in most ballparks and most outfielders, that ball gets by.
2-2 the count. Ozzie Smith. Lefferts roll with the Giants, basically the left-handed setup man for Scott Geraltz, and then Don Robinson.
You just saw what happens a lot with catchers. Brenly thought that was the strike. He walked back and said something to Kibler. Kibler walked in front of the plate and answered him. Nobody knew it except if you'd ever been in that spot.
Look out here. 3-2 to Ozzie. Ball 4. He's the best Cardinal hitter on the team with the count 3-2. He hits over 400 in that spot. And this year, when the count goes to 3-2, that's the 25th walk that he's got. So Russell gave up 5 runs and 9 hits, walked a couple, and goes out losing. It's up to Lefferts now to keep the Cardinals quiet. When the Giants come up in the 8th inning, Lefferts' spot is due to lead off, then Thompson and Mitchell. And you saw earlier, Chris Spire was out to be a pinch hitter.
And you got 2 guys up that can do something.
Chopper off the glove of Lefferts, deflected to Thompson, over to Uribe, back to Clark, double play. Boy, you can see why they lead the major leagues in double plays. They just turned in a dandy. 1-4-6-3.
Uribe had something on that ball when he got it. It was deflected by Lefferts. You watch it now. Usually when that happens, the timing is kind of messed up, but look at here, perfect. And Uribe very close to being off that bag. I have to see it again.
Dan Dreesen is the batter, and it was Dreesen who ignited the Cardinals in the 6th inning when he doubled up the alley in left center and scored the first of the 3 runs to put the Cardinals out in front. 1 ball and no strikes the count. Two and 0.
Here's that double play again. Let's see if Uribe is on the bag. Whoops. He was in the neighborhood, but I tell you, if you call that, the umpire might as well turn around and wait for the bench. They'll be after him.
There's one hit down the right field line. Going over to get it is Maldonado, and Danny Dreesen into second base with his second double.
Then I get the feeling Dreesen doesn't like those bus rides in the minor leagues.
Is that something? What a story. A man without a ball club.
He just pulls it and pulls it hard. He had a tremendous game, the clincher against the Montreal Expos, and he comes here and comes up with his second double. And as you said, Vin, he got it started in the 6th.
So Danny Dreesen with 2 out doubles, and Willie McGee will be the batter. McGee flied to center, single to left to drive in a run, and then had the infield single on the ball that was flagged by Uribe, and it looked like they had Dreesen. And they let him get away on the off-balance throw in the dirt to Rob Thompson. Willie way out in front. Since Lefferts figures to come out for a hitter, you look to the Giant bullpen, and Scott Garrelts is loosening up.
Here's where I think that wrist bothers McGee, batting right-handed. It's the left wrist, and he kind of felt for that one.
In watching him swing now, you start to file that away, because if he's in there, it'll be against Dave Dravecki tomorrow, and he also has a bad thumb to go along with the wrapped left wrist.
He lets go of the bat on that last swing, so you know it's hurting him.
0-2. One ball, 2 strikes. During the regular year, McGee is so consistent. 284 left-handed, 288 right-handed. 11 home runs, 5 left, 6 right. But he's not quite that solid right now with that bad left wrist. 1-2. Fouled away off to the right, out of play, so it's still 1-2. In the inning, Smith walked. Kerr hit one up the middle, and the Giants turned it into a double play, and Dreesen has doubled. McGee trying to pick him up with Terry Pendleton on deck. Roger Craig knows coming to the 8th, he'll start with a hitter for Lefferts. And McGee drives it into right center. Davis one-hands it on the run. Fine play by Chile to take an extra base hit away from McGee, so they leave Dreesen. And at the end of 7, 5-2 St. Louis. We go to the 8th inning, 5-2 St. Louis. Chris Spire hitting for Craig Lefferts. And just a gentle reminder, tomorrow a big day. The National League Championship Series at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. John Tudor and Dave Dravecki. Game 2 between the Giants and the Cardinals. And then tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern on NBC, the Minnesota Twins and the Detroit Tigers. And it'll all begin with Major League Baseball, an inside look. Chris Spire, who received the Willie McCovey Award for the most inspirational player on the Giants this year, has come full circle. Foul ball. Spire was with the last Giant pennant-winning team in 1971. A 3-time All-Star. 37 years old.
Vin Matthews has made 94 pitches with those two, 67 strikes and 27 balls.
He has been remarkable. So Spire, Thompson, and Mitchell in that order in the 8th. 5-2 St. Louis. It was interesting for Spire. He had hit 1 grand slam in his previous 16 years in the majors. This year he hit 2 slams 5 days apart, one of them against the Cardinals. And then a couple of weeks later he had a 2-home run game for the 2nd time in his career. Been a big year for Chris, and he has had some invaluable pinch hits. Popped it up on the right side, and it'll be Dan Dreesen. So Spire pops up, 1 down in the 8th, and what a story Greg Matthews is. Matthews, who didn't figure to pitch. Danny Cox with the stiff neck. Matthews rushed in as a replacement, and here he is in the 8th inning, not only leading 5-2, he sacrificed to set up 1 run and singled to drive in 2 others. Ball 1.
And one of the intangibles, he has not used that bullpen. I mean, up and down, and Whitey making a decision to go with 8 pitchers, he really has gotten a bonus plus.
2 balls and no strikes. Rob Thompson, just trying to get aboard, reached on an error in the 1st inning and scored, struck out and grounded out since, and on that last pitch, suddenly, here comes Mike Rourke.
I almost have to believe that what they're saying, I don't start to get cute. Just do what you've been doing because it's been working.
That last pitch, kind of like a balloon, and the string broke. And boy, Rourke was catapulting out of the Cardinal dugout to make sure that everything was all right.
It's not unusual for a pitcher not to be just satisfied to get you out. He wants you to look bad while he's getting you out, and he'll throw some exotic pitch.
You know, he's done that too. A lot of his strikeouts, the hitter has looked foolish.
So don't change it. What do they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
98 pitches with 1 out in the 8th inning. He was the 10th round selection in the '84 free agent draft. Greg Inman Matthews from Harbor City, California, 25 years old. Strike. Went to high school at Savannah High in Anaheim, went to Santa Ana Junior College, Cal State Fullerton, and what a story he is this evening. Ball 4. And that would be his first walk. Now, if that's a storm signal, yep, it is. Whitey Herzog is carrying a hook with him. 1 walk and you're gone.
Well, he went much longer than Whitey had a right to expect and thought he would do, and it goes back. You can't catch a walk, and listen to this ovation as he walks off.
Greg Matthews, who only had 2 complete games this year, one of them a shutout, got his club into the 8th, a magnificent performance, and he has reason to grin, and out he goes. So Greg Matthews goes out leading 5-2. Worrell is in, and we'll be back. Dejection, he has plenty to smile about as Greg Matthews gives the ball to Todd Worrell. Matthews had a reputation of being a flake, kind of a guy who'd send his laundry out on a road trip and then move on home, park his car in the parking lot here, and then ask a teammate to give him a lift home. But boy, he can be as flaky as he wants pitching like that.
When you pitch like that, you're not flaky, you're eccentric.
Yes.
Yes. And what a contrast with Worrell coming in, who is strictly a power pitcher, fastball in the 90s, as opposed to what they've been looking at with Matthews.
Worrell with 33 saves, going head-to-head with Kevin Mitchell, who is 1 for 3. 1-2. Mitchell battling Todd Worrell. The difference, Worrell has made 2 pitches to Mitchell. One was 97 and the other is 96.
And I think with the wind of Matthews back, 87 was the highest.
Off the bag at first, Rob Thompson. High fly ball to right field. Kurt Ford is there. 2 down in the 8th inning. And the batter will be Jeffrey Leonard. With a right-hander on the mound, if Roger Craig decides to go to his bench, he has such left-hand hitters as Mike Aldretti, Harry Spillman, and Eddie Milner. But if he comes up with a left-hand hitter, all he has to do is look down in the bullpen And Ken Daly is down there to try and check Craig's maneuvering. Against Philadelphia recently, when Ken Daly was pitching in relief, Worrell went into right field. Daly got his man, and then they brought Worrell back in, and he finished off the game. And Herzog, in a bind for pitching, could very well do something like that tonight. That's what Daly said. He said, you know how I'm going? He said, I was relieved by the right fielder. Of course, the right fielder was Todd Worrell. 2-0 the count at Jeffrey Leonard. Flied to center, homered to center, flied to right. Foul back. 2-1.
He's just rearing back and throwing.
First 2 years in the big leagues, Todd Worrell 30+ saves in each year. He's the only Cardinal pitcher to ever record back-to-back 30-save seasons. When you realize he got 1 save in the first 29 games of the year and winds up with 33, he really came with a rush. Thompson at first, 2 down in the 8th, 5-2 St. Louis. Fouled away. John Tudor and Dave Dravecky tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. But after that, it's questionable as to just who will pitch Friday at Candlestick. Can Danny Cox come back? It will be Atlee Hammaker for San Francisco.
Whitey's looking at Friday for Danny Cox, the earliest.
2-2. And he rolled it into right field. You talk about fighting off a good pitch. And Rob Thompson goes to third.
The tip-off on that was that Pena called fastball, and Worrell shook him off only because it was the location. He stayed with the fastball, got it inside, made a good pitch, and Leonard just swung late, hit it on the handle, and with Thompson staying on first base, there was a big gap there. I mean, he just fought that thing off, fisted it in the right field.
So now Candy Maldonado coming up, representing the tying run. And Candy, with 20 home runs and 85 RBIs during the regular year, is 0 for 3 tonight. Grounded to third, fly to center, and popped up.
It'll be strength against strength here.
2 out in the 8th inning, 5-2 St. Louis. At third base, Robbie Thompson and Jeff Leonard over at first. After Maldonado, Chili Davis. Foul back. 0-1. There's Chili Davis waiting on deck. Don Robinson gets up and begins to loosen up in the Giant bullpen. Ken Daly has stopped throwing in the Cardinal pen. Throw to first, not in time.
It's always a good play. It cuts down the lead. You may get a chance to get him at third, but it also makes your ball club look good. It's not a set play. It's just a play that if he gets it and sees Dreesen's ready, you'll fire it.
And Greg Matthews, of course, knowing that one swing here and all of his good work could go down the drain. A drive into left center field, racing over is Coleman and McGee, and this one is up the alley, bouncing, and the fan catches it, which takes away a run. Jeff Leonard will be sent back to third on a ground rule double, and that's a tough break indeed for San Francisco. Leonard scores without a play, except the ball kangarooed up above that 10-foot high wall.
It's one of those rules that really penalizes the wrong people now, but the fan, when it bounces, grabs it, and I think he throws it back on the field, man.
It seems as if they have somewhat of a wire basket around the wall to try and prevent fans from interfering with the ball. It came very close to being touched on a triple by Ozzie Smith in the 4th inning, and now it becomes a monumental play Watch the fan out there and watch the ball bounce now. Up, and they reach out and definitely touched it, even though the basket is there.
Oh, he was disgusted. Look at that. He threw it back. He did throw it back. He was really disgusted. But I bet the Giants are more disgusted with him.
Second and third. Here's Chili Davis. It's 5-3 instead of 5-4. In other words, the tying run would be at second base with 2 out. But now you have Leonard at third and Maldonado at second. Cardinals 5, Giants 3 in the 8th. Chili Davis 0 for 3, struck out twice and grounded out. Those 3 at-bats, he was batting right-handed against left-handed Greg Matthews. 1-1. On deck, Will Clark. So a big at-bat for Chili Davis. Nice save by Pena. That could have gone to the backstop. So Leonard can't find a way to get home yet.
Easily gone to the backstop because Pena was actually set up on the outside part of the plate. And when you're going to miss, you better miss outside where your catcher is. Now look where he's set up. And I mean, he gets it way inside. That is really bad pitching. Good play by Pena.
So Pena saves a run. The fan saved a run. And the Cardinals are still leading 5-3, and Matthews is hoping somebody will save him. He's not responsible for a loss, but a win could go out the window. Fouled away. The deuce is wild to Chili Davis. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on, 1 in, and 2 runs separating the Cardinals and the Giants. And that was a 97-mile-an-hour hummer.
I was going to say, they've been 97, 96, 97, 96.6 or whatever. They all look the same after a while, Ben. You see what Matthews did, but Worrell has just ran back and pumping.
Ball 3. So Worrell now is 1 pitch away from loading him up for Will Clark. And Matthews can just sit alongside Jack Clark and do what Jack has been doing. Wait. And that's ball 4 to load him up. That's enough to make Worrell eat his glove, and it's enough to break Greg Matthews' heart. He thought maybe, no. The inning's a long way from being over. Well, Ken Daly is throwing in the bullpen. Will Clark is going to be the hitter. Though he's taking out his ace right-hander for his ace left-hander. With the bases loaded, 2 out in the 8th, 5-3 St. Louis. Matthews, there is just so much of this you can take. So Matthews still goes out where he can win. But now Ken Daly picks up for Todd Worrell, who could lose. And in this battle with the game on the line between Daly, he of the bionic arm, he had the same operation that Tommy John had. Daly will go against Will Clark. And Will Clark, the Giant first baseman, hit .320 against left-hand pitching this year. So, I mean, we're in the high-rent district now. Will Clark, Ken Daly, and the game on the line.
They're playing him pretty much straight away, although he's got a big gap in left center field. And if he holds to what he said he would do against left-handers, he'd try from the middle to the left field line.
Clark is 1 for 3. 0-1. Clark was robbed of a hit by her, single grounded out, and Daly starts him with a rising fastball that was clocked at 92. Leonard at third, Maldonado at second, Davis at first, 2 out. A run taken away from the Giants as a fan went after a ball in play. 1-1. So instead of 5-4 St. Louis, it is 5-3, and Whitey's leading a charmed life, at least for the moment. And Rogers wondering when his luck's going to turn. Bob Forsch begins to throw in the Cardinal bullpen. Ball 2, and you can hear the groans. Oh, you talk about pressure.
Yeah, and I tell you, it begins and ends really with the plate umpire, John Kipper. He has to umpire that ball, but he knows how important this game is. And he's getting a little heat from the bench right now.
Somebody's touched a nerve, and the mask is off. Nick Leyva is hollering, standing alongside Whitey Herzog, and John doesn't like it one bit.
Tell you, they're right on the brink. Get a little louder, and somebody's going to get launched.
2-1 to count to Will Clark. The bases loaded, 2 out in the 8th, 1 run in, 5-3 St. Louis. And there's a high fly ball to right center. It's playable. Kurt Ford is there. He's got it. So the Giants are victimized in the 8th inning and wind up with 1. And at the end of 7.5, Cardinals 5, Giants 3. Record crowd, 55,331, the largest crowd to see any kind of event at Busch Stadium. And amongst the 55,000, this fan has had a great deal to do with the game. By interfering with that ball, it deprived the Giants of a run and has kept it a 2-run game instead of a 1-run game. There's one of the fellas who reached over and interfered with the ball in play. Strike. You work all year with your pitchers and your infielders and your outfielders, and you try to cover everything, and then a fan sticks his finger in the pie. 1 ball, now 2. 2-1.
I never really could understand that rule, though, because it's the home park, and it punishes the visiting team.
Yeah, and how? Ball 3. They have a basket out there, a wire netting that runs the length of the top of the wall in left center to center to try and prevent a fan from leaning over and catching a ball. But as we have seen tonight, it did not prevent the fan from getting right out on with his hands over the netting. So 5-3 Cardinals, bottom of the 8th. Pendleton, Ford, and Pena, and Scott Gereltz, the 3rd Giant pitcher. Russell, Lefferts, and now Gereltz. Got him. Pendleton caught looking. It's the 2nd time he's gone down on strikes. The Cardinals, needless to say, do not see eye to eye with John Kibler's judgment. But the dugout would appear to be quiet for the moment. Boy, they were growling at him while Daly was pitching with the bases loaded. Kurt Ford flied to right, grounded to 3rd, single. It was his single to right field that confused Willie McGee and irritated Nick Leyva. Bad hop, and Clark stays with it and flips to Gereltz. You talk about big league reflexes. Wow.
Boy, I remember Frank Crosetti, the great Yankee coach, always saying, hey, anybody can feel the good hop. Show me the guy who come up with the bad hop. You're going to see it right here. He saves a 2-base hit. Look at there. What reflexes.
And boy, that thing was ripped. So 2 down in the 8th inning. By the way, if you're not keeping score and you wonder about the Giants, Bob Brenly, Jose Uribe, and Gereltz spot. And since you have left-hander Daly on the mound, that would seem to neutralize Spillman, Milner, and Aldretti, and mean that Melvin and the rookie Williams are the right-hand hitters available. Now back. Pena has singled and scored, walked and fouled out. He fouled out in a tough spot in the 6th inning with the bases loaded, only to get off the hook when Matthews came up and hit the little breaking ball into center field for a base hit and a couple of RBIs. 0-2. Might have gone after a bad ball. He put a little angry on that swing. Down he goes, and at the end of 8, the Cardinals 5, the Giants 3. Telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Danny Cox, who was supposed to pitch tonight and couldn't and gave way to Greg Matthews, who's been the big story of the night. The question now is whether Cox will be available to pitch for the Cardinals Friday night at Candlestick. We do know John Tudor goes tomorrow against Dave Dravecky. And we also know that Ken Daly will open up the 9th inning against Bob Brenly and Jose Uribe. And he's backed up in the Cardinal bullpen by right-hander Bob Forsch and left-hander Ricky Horton. 5-3 St. Louis in the 9th. Been a tough night for Brenly. It started out promising when he threw out Vince Coleman trying to steal. But with the bat, Brenly has struck out twice and flied out. Strike.
He's been behind the pitcher all night long. The pitchers have been getting ahead of him and making Brenly hit their pitch.
No balls, 1 strike. High foul off to the right and out of play on the count 0-2. Full day tomorrow, remember. The National League at 3 p.m. Eastern. And Minnesota and Detroit in the American League tomorrow night. That would be 8 p.m. Eastern. 0-2 the count to Bob Brenly. Got him for the 3rd time tonight. So Bob Brenly is caught looking 1 away in the 9th inning. And that look tells it all. As slowly but surely we run out, we would like to thank a lot of folks. Executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman. The coordinating producer and director of tonight's game, Harry Coyle. Bob Brenly doesn't feel like thanking anybody. The producer of tonight's game, John J. Filippelli. The pregame producer, Steve Dance, and the pregame director, Richard Klein. And a reminder to stay tuned for local news at the conclusion of the ball game, and that's up the middle. So Uribe keeps the door open with a single to center, and Bob Melvin will come up and bat. They've already used Spire, so now Melvin.
You can see how important that interference call is. Now, not interference, but that ground rule double, the fan. 5-3 ball game. I'll tell you a difference if it's a 1-runner.
Oh, it's a killer. And, of course, to take a point off the scoreboard is always bad news in any sport. Leonard walks in on the double by Maldonado, but is sent back and never scores. So it's 5-3 Cardinals in the 9th, 1 out. And here is Melvin. Strike. Melvin 1 for 8 as a pinch hitter, but hitting less than 200 for the year. And on deck, the leadoff man, Rob Thompson. 1 ball, 1 strike.
They really don't expect, as we look at Roger Craig, Melvin to pull Daly. McGee is really in right center field. There's a big gap in left center field. That tells you what they think of Daly's stuff.
Ground ball hard to short. Ozzie Smith to Tommy Hurd to Dreesen, dug it out. The St. Louis Cardinals, who appeared so downcast over the loss of their starting pitcher, over the loss of Jack Clark, and the Giants, who had to come in here feeling confident, and it is the Cardinals, 5 runs, 10 hits, and 1 error, and the Giants, 3 runs, 7 hits, and 1 error. And somewhere in left center field, there is a fan who had a great deal to do with the outcome of the ball game. Tonight's NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game has to be pitcher Greg Matthews. Miller Lite happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Greg Matthews to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. And what a lift he gave the Cardinals.
Yes, he did. And give Whitey Herzog some credit. As Red Shandine said, he'll come up with something, and he certainly did.
And by Rockets' red glare, the Cardinals beat the Giants 5-3, and we'll be back to Busch Stadium in St. Louis after this. Win game 1 of the National League Championship Series. Greg Matthews the winner, Rick Russell the loser. The game-winning RBI given to Terry Pendleton, and a save given to left-hander Ken Daly. As the Giants led a couple of times, each time the Cardinals came back to tie, and then the 3 runs in the 6th inning broke it open and gave the Cardinals the win. The 1987 National League Championship Series has been brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft, cold-filtered draft beer. It's as real as it gets. By Mitsubishi. See the new Gallon Sigma at your Mitsubishi motor dealers. By the Prudential, going above and beyond to meet your needs in insurance and other financial services. And by STP, makers of STP oil treatment. We've got what it takes to perform. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., John Tudor and Dave Dravecky. And for Matt Williams and Mike Aldretti, it hurts even when you don't play. And for Rick Russell, a loss. For the Cardinals, a rebirth. And for Roger Craig, a chance to get even with Dave Dravecky and John Tudor. Stay tuned for local news, followed by The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson and Late Night with David Letterman. For Joe Garagiola, this is Vin Scully saying so long from Busch Stadium in St. Louis, where the Cardinals won 5-3.